All right, let's talk about valve culture because this comes up every so often, and I'm going to just say this is me and my experience. Valve changes; they're always adapting. They're always trying new things. So what it's like there now may not be there. What other people experience of it may be different. This is my experience. And it fit perfectly for me because it's why people want to be a flat company and why they look to Valve and how they have the management structures. First of all, it eliminates a bunch of middle people that you don't need. And second of all, it just empowers people to take charge and just not have to look for permission. And so for me, it's perfect. Like that's how I work anyways. And so like I often get frustrated at a place where I can't work that way. But so here, I was working on the Orange Box. Well, I was working on Left 4 Dead and the Orange Box. I was doing both. And I was sitting in the writer's room with Mark Laidlaw and Eric Wolpaw. And we're working, and it's becoming clear I got to put more time on the writing for the Orange Box that I'm doing. And also then I'm like, well, I got this Xbox 360 dev kit. We have one in the writer's room. I'm going to grab it. And I would actually turn it on to heat the room because my office, our three of us in our office was next to the TF2 office. The TF2 office had so many people in it, it would heat up, but our air conditionings were the same. So it would turn on the air conditioning in our office and it would just be me in there late at night. It was freezing. So I would turn on the Xbox to warm the room. I swear to God, that's how hot those dev kits used to get. But so I'm like, well, I've got my warmer here that I can play games on. I'm going to play Half-Life 2 because we're going to ship that in the Orange Box as well. And so I'm playing it and I'm reporting bugs and I'm like, this is buggy as hell. This is really problematic. And so I go to one of the engineers. I'm like, hey, you guys aren't really fixing these bugs yet. And he's like, log them all. We'll get to them. But nobody's playtesting any of this stuff. And so I was the first person who played like Half-Life 2 all the way through on the Xbox 360 and like a bunch of the early stuff of all the testing. I was the only one doing the testing as testing. And it's kind of doing it in how I write. I just need a break and I just need to veg out for a little bit while I play like Slay the Spire all the time. And instead here I was playing, Half-Life 2 on the Xbox. But so playing through that way and just being like, there's a lot of bugs. So I'm like, well, hey, I need some people to help me. So I noticed somebody else, a level designer, wasn't using their Xbox a lot. And they were going home earlier. I work a lot. And so I just grabbed their Xbox one night and put it out in the hallway next to my Xbox, which I moved out there. So because I said, hey, if people have free time, can you just play whatever? It doesn't make a difference and just submit the bugs. And so that level designer came in the next day very mad that I took his Xbox. And he threatened me with a sword, kind of. And then angrily etched my name into a zucchini that Mark Laidlaw had given me that I still had on my desk. And I'm like, oh, I have a nameplate now. I never had a nameplate before. It's kind of nice. I kept that nameplate for way too many years. A zucchini, if you put it in a plastic bag, it'll last forever. But okay. So a couple other people saw that and like, well, I'm not really using my Xbox. And I just went around to everybody. I'm like, are you using this 24/7? Are you using this? Because I'm going to go put it in the hallway and I'm going to I'll get people up from support. So during the day, support people will do it at night. Devs taking breaks, working, because we're at this point, we're crunching, right? And we're working there all the time. And eventually it gets to be where I get to order more Xboxes just for this. And so we get some more Xbox 360s in. Remember, these are red ringing, these are overheating, these are drives are dying. Like, so we're, but so with this, I'm not detail oriented, but I'd found the kind of the certification book. I'm like, we're not doing any of this testing yet. This is a whole other realm of testing, this matrix of testing. So I got an animator, and he came in and he ran that. So together we ran all the testing for the Xbox 360 Orange Box. No one asked us to do that. No one told us to do that. When we asked people to help us test, were we managers? Were we allowed to do that? It didn't make a difference. Everyone just did it because they understood like, oh, we understand what you're doing. We need to do this. We all need to do this. Thanks for doing this, right? Nobody was like, oh, you're seizing power. It was thanks. And so then we ship the Orange Box. People are happy. Everyone else goes off into design experiments. I just stay working with Turtle Rock. Now, I can never remember when we officially purchased them and all of that because it was just so hazy for me because I just didn't care. But like I'm down at their Christmas party, they're doing like Rock Band and stuff, and we're all hanging out. And then, it's like, okay, I'm going to come back up in January, and I'm not going to do design experiments. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go move up to the 11th floor, which is away from the 10th floor. And like you guys do your design experiments down here, I'm going to go up and I'm going to grab an engineer with me who wants to go work on this. And so we start the Valve version of Left 4 Dead. And slowly then one of the artists is like, I don't want to do that. Another level designer. And like slowly people started coming up and they were just like, well, Chuck, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? And it grew that way. It didn't grow like me seizing power. I just kept working on the game. And I just took agency over what I wanted to do. And I just kept doing it. And then eventually people are like, well, now you have to go into the meetings for this. And Gabe wants to know what's going on and talk about it. But it grows that way. And that is a really cool way of doing it because it's not like someone's playing like some game to seize power or take control. It's just like, hey, you're working. Hey, I want to work with you. What are you working on? And then people literally would pull their desks up on wheels up there. And I remember Gray, one of the VFX artists, didn't want to pull his own desk up. He thought it was beneath him. And Gabe just grabbed the side of it and flipped it over and dragged it up into the elevator as a way to get him to go. Oh, that was pretty good. But it was just that way though, right? And everybody came up because they were like, oh, this is a cool project. I want to work on this project. And it's okay if I work on this project. And remember, Valve let me start working on Left 4 Dead and on Turtle Rock before we even owned it or anything and weren't sure how this was going to work out or anything. Gabe's like, hey, if you're really interested in it, just start working on it. We'll figure this out, right? And at first, the sales numbers that they projected for the Left 4 Dead, the original one was like hundreds of thousands, couple hundreds of thousands. And then, eventually millions, right? Because we'd put so many resources on it. And then we did the same kind of play testing there and everything. And it just grew from there. And so then I became somebody that you've seen doing press because we're like, well, me and Michael Booth split up the press. And I would write all the interviews. He would do more camera stuff. And look at me, this haircut, man. But it just kind of grew that way. And then eventually I'm like, well, my writing's done and hooked up. I can go do press in Europe and stuff while other people are finishing off. And I would be talking with people, and I remember, one of the original people who wrote Hammer then was doing triage for Left 4 Dead. And it just organically turned up that way. But he shepherded the project in through the end, through the certification process that I did previously because I was on the road doing the press for this and stuff. And I remember when we went to CERT, I was in Russia and then came through and I talked about a 36-hour day that worked out to be for me. It's really sick, not good, don't do that. But that was kind of it. And so you have a bunch of people working hard, but it's not competitively. It's more, we all want to get this done. I could tell you in Left 4 Dead 2 who's in the room at 2 a.m. because it's always the same people because that's who does it. And also families and you try to give people breaks. But everybody's trying as best as they can. And I think that experience of those games in person is one of the reasons why I like working in person, but also just was really rewarding because you were essentially high-fiving each other all the time for you would see something new, you would see something cool, all of a sudden the flashlights are working or the laser pointer and all this stuff just coming online seems really small, but you can see that person working and knowing when they started it and working on it and all going together and all working together. And then, as the lead, it's not like you're telling people what to do as much as you're just making sure that this river is flowing the right way and it's all going in there and people aren't adding more stuff in that we're going to be able to do and looking at rough schedules and how you think about it and all of that stuff. But so in that way, you want to be Valve because you want to have everybody have that agency and be able to put everything they can into what they're making and not have a lot of cruft and not have a lot of people telling them no. Instead, it's collectively the group talking about these things and going through it and kind of organizing that way.